What is going on, DeRosa Insiders community? This is Matt Faircloth, and this is the Cash Flow Digest. I want to welcome you guys to the Cash Flow Digest program. We're about halfway through, right, the year, with it being just after June 30th. So today's program is dedicated to talking about where we are in the market, what's going on in the apartment building market, and what better person to bring on to talk about what's going on in the market than our market hunter, bow and arrow, our guy, my man, my partner, Hervé Francois. Hervé, come on in here, buddy. How are you today?
Man, it's always a great time to be with you, Matt. I'm doing very, very well. I hope you and the family as well.
I've heard so much people talking about those markets that are the darlings of the world, like Austin and Phoenix and Atlanta or whatever. And that's just where all the cool kids are. That's where a lot of folks are building and whatnot. So if you've got that much inventory coming on, of course, you're going to have you're going to have some rent suppression or rent issues with the market having to absorb all that stuff that got built over the last 2-3 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So take us through what you got here.
Yeah. So, overall, when you take a look at the rent change on a regional basis, when you sum it all up, we're looking at rent growth was only up 0.2% in the month of June. When you break it down, you see exactly what regions had strengths in rent growth and what regions did not. We just finished talking about the South. Rent growth on average declining 1.5%, but exacerbated by, let's say, in Austin, around 7.5%.
I'm smiling because I'm looking at where your 2% are.
That's right. 2%'s right in our backyard.
I know. It's not that, and then that's honestly not where we invest. You and I live in the Northeast, but
that's right.
You think about a couple years ago, people would be like, the Northeast, like that's going to be a ghost town. Nobody's ever going to invest there. Nobody wants to live there unless they do want to live there, unless not everybody's going to move out of the Northeast and move to the Panhandle of Florida or move to Orlando or whatever. Maybe people did. I'm sure they did. Right. But the Midwest is too, like the part of America that's forgotten, that not enough people are talking about. The breadbasket of America, the center of our country, is a part that's been forgotten for so many years. People talking about the Southeast, the Southwest, moving away from the Northeast to those places. But you forget about, the Iowas, the not to self-promote here, but, the Minnesotas of the world and whatnot, right? These are markets that are growing still. And there actually are people that do and want to live in those places. They actually are beautiful, although they're not, right next to Mickey Mouse's house. They actually are good places to live, right?
Yeah. Listen, case in point, as you know, right, we were visiting my son in Madison, Wisconsin, last weekend for July 4th weekend. That's where he's living right now and whatnot. And we took a day to go over to Milwaukee. And, you'll see another chart up here that we'll put up. But Milwaukee is an example of one of those Midwestern cities. Madison as well, that has been experiencing some strong rent growth this year, right? Our executive producer, Nubiku, thanks very much, blowing this up for us and whatnot. And you'll see that Milwaukee right there, with its rent growth. What was surprising, we didn't touch upon it in the last graph. And
Newark, New Jersey. Yes, he said it. It's there. Chicago, Chi-town. Dare I say? Hervé, I'm sorry. That is not Dallas. That is not Orlando.
Oh,
right?
It's not Phoenix.
Okay.
No. Exactly. Right. And there's your rent growth, right? And now, you're seeing some of these cities where you have nice rent. But hey, shout out to investors, hint to investors, not only nice rent growth in those cities, but cost of living very attractive in those cities.
Yeah.
Again, if you wind up wanting to still go into, let's say, the Dallas and the Atlantas of the world, or Jackson, you're going to be talking about, cost of living in those areas. They've picked up. They used to be cheaper, there's no doubt, but there has been so much migration that cost of living in those areas are going to pick up. You will see rent growth come back in those Sunbelt cities, I would say, beginning in mid-2025. Particularly once that absorption really starts to get soaked up and things like that, relative to all the supply that has hit those markets this year. Because like you were saying earlier, there's a lot of job growth in those cities. Atlanta, not going anywhere. Austin, Tesla in Austin, not going anywhere. And Dallas and Phoenix and so on. So Phoenix is almost our semiconductor capital of the United States nowadays. Intel and Samsung putting in big semiconductor facilities right there in Phoenix. So we're right outside in Scottsdale and things like that. But what these cities have, particularly these Midwesterns, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, and Columbus and so on, so Kansas City, relative to those other, is nice cost of living. So I see our youngins moving out there to the Midwest, a little bit of both. A little bit of both, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting that, like you think things last forever, right? And you think that the whole world, it's like every cool kid I know moved to Austin, right? But it's only a matter of time before a city, this is just an example, just because it is, like Virginia Beach, right? Let's say a major company, let's make one up right now, Dropbox or Google or whatever, decides they're going to put a new HQ there in Virginia Beach because it's near the ocean. It's, there's other job bases there. There's good education centers that would give us a good job base. They would say, okay, yeah, we're going to make Virginia Beach it, right? It's not like Austin's been the hottest thing since sliced bread for the last 30 years, right? Austin has not. Austin was a small little city until, tech decided to move their way in, and the city, rightfully so, made it easy for businesses to do business there. One of those, or two or three of those 10 cities, such as Greensboro, as we know, has made it easy for companies to come in. The next Austin is on that list, and it's not going to suck all the attention away from Austin, but the next city that we as real estate investors should be looking at, maybe right in front of you, right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Columbus, Ohio, perfect example of what you're talking about, Matt. Right?
Columbus is building chips. There's chips going into Columbus right now, and I'm not talking about Lay's potato chips. I'm talking about microchips.
Right? Big chips, right? That goes into our cell phones and cars and things like that. Well, absolutely.
We're not going to be buying that stuff from China for much longer, man. We're building a lot more chips in the U.S. now.
Bringing it back home. So I thought this really would provide some interesting insight as to the transitions, right, that are taking place in supply and demand in the marketplace in the first half of this year and whatnot, and not to get stuck. So, you could be a consumer that benefits from this information and this graph. You can certainly be a producer, a real estate investor, an operator that benefits from the article and the information in this article, as well as these graphs, right? And if you are just getting started, and Matt, that we have our cadre of students, right? And a lot of times they come to us and they say, Hervé, where should we invest? Where should I invest? And there's such a big country, so on and so forth, right? These are the kind of things that I look at to help them narrow down where they could invest, right? It's not always going to be, outside of your backyard or whatnot, right? Granted, Newark is seeing some strong rent growth, but you're also not only strong rent growth in Newark, but some of the highest rents in the country out of Newark, New Jersey. We're talking about a one bedroom on average, $4,000 a month, right? I mean, that's insane, right? So, here comes sheetrock to split that room in two, right? Because that's the only way you're going to be able to afford that. So, but other cities in that area can be really, really, really attractive investment opportunities.
Yeah. So, guys, Hervé is way too humble to promote himself here, but he developed something called the Market Hunter tool that's there on the DeRosa Group website. Our ghost in the machine, Nabiko, could gladly post the link to the Market Hunter tool, or there it is right there at derosagroup.com/market tool, 2 T's, market tool. Go grab that. Hervé developed that tool himself. And what that tool does, guys, is it does exactly what Hervé just did. It goes and helps you collect the data on markets, and it will score markets alongside you. You just fill it in, and it'll tell you whether your market scores out as a good market, a mid-tier market, or not a good market to invest in, based on data, not based on your opinion, not based on what you read on Facebook, not based on what me and Hervé has to say, and certainly not what some cool kids doing that you hear talking about a podcast that they're building a bunch of apartment buildings in Austin. These are real items of data that you can use to pick a market. Now, you're going to have to put it in. It's not going to spit out and say, you should invest in Columbus. You put in the data, you go get it. You do have to work for it. That's okay. But go to right there, and it's going to enable you to find the markets that's going to work the best for you. So go to derosagroup.com/market tool to grab that. Guys, this is just a brief comment on the Real Page article that Hervé found. Great find, Hervé. If you guys want to hear me and Hervé talk about what DeRosa is doing to go and we, like I said, we got 3 deals. One that we just closed, 2 we're doing right now. 3, in this market where a lot of people are in the waiting place, sitting on their hands, waiting on the market to change. We're not. We're making it happen, right? So if you guys want to hear how DeRosa Group's doing it and how we recommend that you go forward and take action and what we see coming in the next market, make sure you watch live, which we're going to transition to now and do this live, or just jump over to our YouTube channel or our DeRosa Insiders page on Facebook and join that so you can hear our conversation. And next time we're going live, you guys can type in questions to us live like you can do right now. So thanks for watching this YouTube video. Appreciate you guys.